Here it is, the news about the coronavirus. That's right, the news about the coronavirus.
We want to empower our communities and redefine what a news channel can be.
Every morning, the people of Ohio have the
Here it
opportunity
is,
to wake up and start
the news about the coronavirus. That's right, the news about the coronavirus.
To be invited to our neighbors' homes and help them plan their day. Welcome to your morning news. I'm Sophia Constantine. Let's take a look at your weather on the one. We've got a large band of precipitation.
Your morning news, weekday mornings on Spectrum News 1. Sunday morning, take an in-depth look at your community. In Focus with Mike Kallmeyer, a half-hour show dedicated to the important issues, driven to bring decision makers together, and committed to elevating discussion and debate. Your community, your state, your show. In Focus with Mike Kallmeyer, Sunday morning at 10:30 on Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum.
Maybe I'll run for president, maybe I won't, but I will tell you that I'm not going to go away.
I don't think Michigan can become the Michigan of old.
We're probably the first professional sports team in the world that was built by the fans.
We're the biggest ice cream shipper in the nation, setting the standard for American ice cream.
I get to live my dreams. I mean, what more could I ask for?
Conversations, Sunday and Tuesday night at 9 on Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum.
Hey there, Northeast Ohio. We'll be staying dry through this evening and into tomorrow before we reintroduce some rain and thunderstorm chances back to your Thursday forecast. For this evening, we remain dry. Temperatures relatively comfortable through tonight as well. Starting off in the 80s around 5, 6 o'clock, and then we see those temperatures slowly backing off from there. Just a few puffy clouds in the forecast, a little bit of moisture coming in right along the lakeshore, but nothing that's going to trigger rain chances for, again, until Thursday. We're looking to remain largely dry. Overnight temperatures coming down into the 60s and near 90 degrees for your Wednesday forecast. Staying largely rain-free until Thursday, and that's going to be largely late in the day as we see a weak frontal boundary approaching. Don't get caught up on temperatures because those are not going to change very much. What it's going to do is serve as a little bit of a focal point for some of those late-day showers and thunderstorms, and we're going to see a little bit of an unsettled pattern right on through the weekend. So rain chances are actually going to help dip temperatures a little bit as we move into the end of the week. But with this frontal boundary on Thursday, there is a possibility it could kickstart a couple of stronger thunderstorms. So the possibility does exist for an isolated severe thunderstorm warning or two across Northeast Ohio. We are under a marginal risk already for the chance for severe weather on Thursday. As far as Lake Erie goes, water temperatures in the 70s. We'll see light winds today out of the south-southeast, 5 to 10 knots, 1 to 2 foot waves. So overall, a pretty quiet setup on the water. Same goes into tomorrow. It's Thursday. Will look to be a little bit more unsettled as we kickstart more in the way of shower and potentially thunderstorm activity through the early evening. Then Friday afternoon, we're going to pick up with those chances for showers and storms once again. Very similar pattern as we head into the weekend. And for the weekend, notice that change in our temperatures. We're going from the 80s back down into the low to even mid-90s. Looking for a high of 93 coming up on Sunday, keeping those 90s in the mix as we head into early next week. Now let's get a check of your storm track Doppler radar. One couple is doing some healing with helium. This story is about a couple who's putting smiles on faces of their customers using one simple thing, balloons. Spectrum News reporter Amy Elliott has the story.
Tammy Loza is an artist, but her medium isn't paint, it's balloons.
I love to see when people realize what we can do with balloons. Because most of the time when we say balloons, they see balloons with a string. And when they see what we can do, they are amazed.
They do everything from giant arches to hanging displays to literal bouquets.
Her husband
In the 24 years, Charlie Soria has doubled as her business partner for the last decade, with the company aptly titled Amazing Balloons. Before the pandemic, they were decorating large corporate events and graduations.
And I'm working with him doing the life-size tent planning here.
How long did that take?
Days. But now, business is staying afloat with smaller celebrations.
We still have support for our clients. They still doing events, but it's not as big as they used to be.
Charlie gets the car full at least 10 minutes before the balloons can be placed in the car to keep them from popping. But with 10,000 balloons in their workshop, they do have enough to spare. When the car is cooled off, it's delivery time.
I think between 12 and 18, maybe. It depends on the size, because if we have a big delivery, maybe we do less. But the day that we have made most deliveries one day has been 60.
These creations can be pricey, with the smallest offering bringing in $40, while an event can top $20,000. But in a time when joy can be hard to come by, the demand for happiness hasn't diminished.
Hey, I'm making balloons. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you
you.
so much.
Enjoy it. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Take care.
It really makes me feel great. See, people smile again, even in these horrible times. It's what we do, and it's what we love what we do, because see people smile back again. As I mentioned before, even with a small bouquet of balloons, it's awesome to see people smile and have hope, keep hope.
Amy Elliott, Spectrum News 1.
Your news continues right here on Spectrum News 1. Coming up, we'll check your top headlines and get a look at your weather on the 1 forecast. In the meantime, some interesting facts about Ohio.
Ohio Fun Facts are sponsored by the Ohio Senior Health Insurance Information Program.
It doesn't feel like a job to me. Journalism is my passion. Well, I started out as an actress and singer, which isn't the typical way to get into broadcasting. Whether it's journalism, singing, acting, writing, it's all about storytelling. I guess I fell in love with news because it's the real story of us. It's the real story of community. I'm Mary Lee Melendez, anchor reporter, Spectrum News 1.
Weather in Ohio is changing all the time.
We get winter one day and 60s the next.
At Spectrum News 1, our goal is refreshingly simple.
We bring you an accurate, reliable, and local forecast every 10 minutes.
We have an incredible, experienced team of people.
We don't just know about the weather, we know about Ohio.
You never have to wait for your forecast with your Weather on the One.
Weather on the One, every 10 minutes, exclusively on Spectrum. Sunday morning, take an in-depth look at your community. In Focus with Mike Kallmeyer, a half-hour show dedicated to the important issues. Driven to bring decision makers together and committed to elevating discussion and debate. Your community, your state, your show. In Focus with Mike Kallmeyer, Sunday morning at 10:30 on Spectrum News 1. Exclusively on Spectrum.
Maybe I'll run for president, maybe I won't, but I will tell you that I'm not going to go away.
I don't think Michigan can become the Michigan of old.
We're probably the first professional sports team in the world that was built by the fans.
We're the biggest ice cream shipper in the nation, setting the standard for American ice cream.
I get to live my dream. I mean, what more could I ask for?
Conversations, Sunday and Tuesday night at 9 on Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum. 4 o'clock. Have questions about COVID-19? Visit coronavirus.ohio.gov.
Blacks just typically are not paid at the same level as whites.
Dissecting the racial wealth gap here in Ohio. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on Spectrum News 1. I'm Mary Dean Melendez. Coming up on this hour, we'll take a deep dive into the disparity between household incomes of Black and white Ohioans. Much more on that story in just a few minutes, but first let's check in with meteorologist Ashley Beatty. And Ashley, feeling really nice out there again today, but I know we should probably enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah, we're definitely keeping those humidity levels down today. Already starting to see some slightly warmer temperatures, and then 90s are coming back tomorrow, followed by chances for thunderstorms on Thursday. Busy week ahead. Let's get right to your weather on the one. A few puppy cumulus clouds across the Buckeye State this afternoon. Those are not going to be rain producers. In fact, we're going to be staying dry largely for Ohio until we get into Thursday afternoon, and that's when we're rather significantly going to be bumping up not just our rain, but our potential for thunderstorm chances. So through today, a little bit cumulus activity there. Not much in the way of cloud cover, though, through this evening, and we will see those temperatures falling through the 70s overnight, and ultimately we'll wind up with a round of overnight lows back in the 60s once again. So dropping to 64 Columbus, 65 tonight Cincinnati. Notice these temperatures just a little bit warmer than what we were waking up to this morning. So we're starting to see those humidity levels ever so slowly beginning to creep up, and you'll start to feel more of that by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon. Now, our daytime highs for much of Ohio are going to flirt with 90 degrees on Wednesday. Many areas will hit that mark, but we're going to start to feel just a little bit warmer than that. And once we get into Thursday, that's when we see the real surge in humidity translating into thunderstorm chances. More coming up in your next Weather on the One. New coronavirus numbers are out this afternoon, and they are continuing an upward trend. Ohio Department of Health reports 1,142 new confirmed coronavirus cases since yesterday. Ohio now has at least 67,995 total cases. The number of total deaths since yesterday increased by 5, now standing at 3,069. Governor Mike DeWine had been expected to hold a briefing on the state's response to the pandemic this afternoon, but that was canceled without an explanation and with no word of when his next briefing will be scheduled. A major mix-up today at a pop-up COVID-19 testing site in Cincinnati led to some serious confusion among hundreds who came out with the hope of being tested, only to be told that they were actually at the wrong location. Spectrum News 1's Jordan Valines explains.
We're here at Zion Temple First Pentecostal Church right here on Reading Road, which was actually listed as one of the locations on Governor DeWine's website where people could come today and get tested for COVID-19. Unfortunately, though, that website was wrong, leading to many people, hundreds of people in fact, being turned away.
It's been rough. It's been horrible because the information is not out there.
Here's a screenshot of Governor DeWine's website showing this week's times and locations for pop-up testing. Tuesday's testing site is listed here at 377 Reading Road, which left many scratching their heads once they arrived at the site, only to see these signs blocking the entrance.
The website listed Zion Pentecostal, and it should have been Zion Baptist. So we are redirecting people.
The pastor was redirecting an estimated 100 or more people every single hour while the site was open.
In the time that I've been here, it shows that it's a great response. It's unfortunate that we have this error.
A seemingly small error resulting in a big mess.
I mean, it's just been horrible.
Although many folks that we spoke with were simply relieved that there was at least some clarification among the confusion.
Nice that a person was here to tell me. Otherwise, like, if I came here and there was nobody here, I would have been like, I don't know what to do, and I might have gotten freaked out and gone home.
But for the most part, people decided to stick it out and head on over to the correct testing location at Zion Baptist Church.
As long as everyone's getting what they need in the long run, I don't think it matters.
Governor Mike DeWine's website also listed that there was going to be another testing for COVID-19 right here at Zion Temple Pentecostal Church on Saturday. However, the pastor said that information is also incorrect. He said, as for the testing in this area for Saturday, the location for that is still to be determined. We're now reporting here in Avondale, Jordan Valines, Spectrum News 1.
The Franklin County Board of Health has approved an emergency order requiring facial coverings across the entire health district. The face masks are required in any indoor location that is not a residence and for those 10 years and older. Those who have medical health issues, including respiratory conditions that restrict breathing or mental health conditions or disabilities, are exempt from the order. It will be enforced by a written warning along with information pertaining to the requirements. Governor Mike DeWine had previously mandated face coverings to be worn by all counties that are designated Red Alert Level 3 or Level 4. The order is effective immediately. Two Democratic lawmakers at the Ohio State House are introducing a bill declaring one day in late February of each year as Dr. Amy Acton Day in honor of the former state health director. Dr. Acton is praised by several Ohio lawmakers for enacting health restrictions immediately after the COVID-19 pandemic began sweeping across Ohio. Acton's order prompted the Secretary of State's office to postpone the Ohio primary by 1 month. Acton was a familiar face for months during Governor DeWine's press briefings early on in Ohio's coronavirus crisis, but voices of opposition did grow louder. Dr. Acton resigned on June 11th, calling her early mornings and late nights unsustainable. Now Democratic State Representatives Mary Lightbody of Westerville and Kent Smith of Euclid are petitioning to declare February 26th as Dr. Amy Acton Day here in Ohio. The bill has a growing list of co-sponsors from across Ohio. All are Democrats. Ohio State athletes can resume voluntary workouts tomorrow. This after the university halted training last week following coronavirus testing. The Department of Athletics announcing today that the results of yesterday's testing, along with the advice of medical professionals, gave them the okay to get back to practice. This affects student athletes in 7 fall sports. Athletic Director Gene Smith says routine testing will continue moving forward and training decisions will be reevaluated based on those results. Our top story, discussions about racial equity and justice continue to define the summer of 2020. People across the nation are asking questions about why things are the way they are. Spectrum News 1 reporter Taylor Bruck explores the topic of the wealth gap and the contributing factors.
Do you know what your net worth is? Consider everything you own, your house, cars, savings, and subtract everything you owe, your debt. According to the Brookings Institute, a nonprofit public policy research organization, the net worth of the average black household in the United States is drastically lower than that of the average white household.
Brookings Institute in 2016 reported that the average African American household is about $17,000 of net worth, compared to the average white household having $171,000 of net worth.
And that's the basis of what is known as the black-white wealth gap. Randell McShepard is co-founder of Policy Bridge, a nonpartisan African-American-led public policy think tank based in Cleveland. McShepard says there are many reasons for the gap, including discriminatory policies involving housing, education, incarceration, and the workplace. He explains that all of those issues affect opportunity, everything from where a person is able to live to the quality of education, which determines the ability to find jobs with good salaries and income security.
Blacks just typically are not paid at the same level as whites. Even with the superior education, on average they are not being compensated at the same level. So what more can a person do than get a college degree or master's or PhD and then realize that on average you're still going to make less than a white person that dropped out of high school? I mean, that tells you a lot.
You're thinking about policy to try to correct the racial wealth gap. That there's a lot of policies that are out there, but any policy that doesn't in some way address or work in tandem with efforts to reduce that earnings gap as well are going to be short-lived in their efficacy.
Daniel Carroll, a senior research economist at the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, completed a study on the black-white wealth gap. He points to the way black people are viewed by society in general as a cause in limiting access to greater opportunities.
Their impressions are I think, false impressions. They get from whatever they're seeing, right, on TV or hearing, and they're not really sort of meeting with everyday people. And so it's easy to sort of, if that's the only picture you're getting, it's easy to dismiss these problems as someone else's issue.
McShepard says a staggering realization is that the wealth gap between white people and black people is roughly the same now as it was over 60 years ago.
That says that decades are passing by and it doesn't seem to bother those lawmakers and other civic leaders, policymakers that could be thinking about this or doing something about it.
McShepard says one of the best ways to begin to bridge the wealth gap is to recognize that there is a gap and that black people didn't create it themselves.
The saddest moments for me have been when people say, you know, black people, they're lazy, they just aren't trying hard enough, and what are they whining about? You know, I had to do all these things to start my business, or I had to do this, and that doesn't take into account that you know, if this was a race, you know, you started 100 yards ahead of the person of color in terms of just not having so much ground to make up.
For Spectrum News, I'm Taylor Brooks.
Thank you, Taylor. And Spectrum News 1 Ohio is exploring the origins of social justice movements that shape our country and our state. You can visit SpectrumNews1.com for more information.
Hey there, and good afternoon, Northeast Ohio. I'm meteorologist Ashley Beatty. Thanks so much for checking in with us for your updated weather on the One forecast this afternoon. We got plenty of blue sky out there today. A few puffy cumulus clouds. That's going to be about all we're going to see in terms of our satellite radar through the afternoon. And as we get into this evening, temperatures falling off nicely. We'll be looking at readings in the 70s, with ultimately those overnight lows once again dropping back down into the 60s. Notice how we stay rain-free through the remainder of tonight. We're going to see more of the same as we move through your Wednesday forecast as well. So for the next couple of days, if you are looking to spend a little time outside, you won't be dodging showers or thunderstorms, but that is definitely going to be changing by the time we head into Thursday. For this evening, if you're looking to get out for a little jog around the neighborhood, plan on temperatures in the lower 80s, and thankfully not too much of a heat index to worry about, at least not just yet, although we'll be talking a lot more about that by Thursday afternoon. For your overnight temperatures, instead of a lot of 50s, we're largely going to be seeing low to mid 60s for your overnight temperature. 64 in Cleveland, 63 for Akron, dropping to an overnight low of 61 degrees for Medina. They will warm up rapidly through tomorrow, seeing a little bit of an increase in our cloud cover late in the day, and that's as a result of a little bit more moisture starting to creep back in. So even though we're not going to quite hit 90 degrees, although a few of us will manage to do that, we're going to feel like it's 90 degrees tomorrow afternoon, and then the real surge in humidity really takes hold for us by Thursday, when we'll talk about not just heat index values, but also chances for some showers and even some strong or severe thunderstorms. For tomorrow, 89 Cleveland, 89 Medina, getting up to 90 degrees Akron, Canton, Mansfield, and we'll look at upper 80s even right along the lakeshore. 88 coming up tomorrow for Ashtabula. Once we get those temperatures up around 90 degrees, we're not going to have much wiggle room here. We're going to see a little bit of a dip here Thursday, Friday, but still upper 80s. And then we see another nudge upward in those temperatures as we move into the weekend. And that's even with some of those late day chances for showers and thunderstorms. I've got even warmer temperatures coming up Sunday and even into early next week. So with that surge in humidity, again, there is the possibility of some stronger or even severe thunderstorms. So already all of Northeast Ohio under a marginal risk for severe weather, meaning we're not expecting an outbreak of severe storms, but it is likely one or two are going to really gather some strength, and we could be looking primarily at some strong gusts and winds in the forecast. More details in your 7-day coming up in less than 10 minutes. Now let's get a check of your Stormtrack Doppler radar.
Reaction nationally to the coronavirus pandemic, how states are handling the uptick in cases across the United States.
Spectrum News 1, a new kind of news channel dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the Buckeye State. With your local forecast every 10 minutes and all of the essential news you need 24/7. Plus, in-depth shows and exclusives focused focused on your community. Always Ohio, always refreshing, always on. We are Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum. Sunday morning, take an in-depth look at your community. In Focus with Mike Kallmeyer, a half-hour show dedicated to the important issues. Driven to bring decision makers together and committed to elevating discussion and debate. Your community, your state, your show. In Focus with Mike Kallmeyer, Sunday morning at 10:30 on Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum.
Weather in Ohio is changing all the time.
We get winter one day and 60s the next.
At Spectrum News 1, our goal is refreshingly simple.
We bring you an accurate, reliable, and local forecast every 10 minutes.
We have an incredible, experienced team of people.
We don't just know about the weather, we know about Ohio.
You never have to wait for your forecast with your Weather on the One.
Weather on the One, every 10 minutes, exclusively on Spectrum.
So this is Eva, and she goes everywhere with me. Like her, I have this innate sense of curiosity. I really like meeting new people. I love to explore, and right now I'm trying to travel to every national park across the country. Every morning, that same curiosity is what drives me as a journalist.
News 1, I'm Cynthia Constantine.
It really fuels the type of stories that we do. It defines us as Ohioans, and it's why I'm so excited to call this place home.
Ohio is now on New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's expanded list of states classified as high risk for travel. That means if you're traveling to New York from Ohio, you must self-quarantine for 14 days. Cuomo's list includes 22 states. Travelers to New York from those states must also complete a traveler health form, which is distributed by airlines. It's also available through the New York Governor's website. Cuomo's order does not apply to people traveling through New York State or people staying less than 24 hours. Don't plan a trip to Canada anytime soon. The U.S.-Canada border is expected to stay closed until at least August 21st. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is expected to officially announce the decision later this week. Government leaders say extended restrictions will include increased enforcement and surveillance. The border has been closed to non-essential traffic since March.
Here it is. The news about the coronavirus.
Democratic presidential
That's
candidate
right.
Joe Biden is
The
comparing
news
the
about
climate
the
crisis
coronavirus.
to the coronavirus pandemic while unveiling his infrastructure and clean energy proposal. The former VP says following the advice of scientists is the best way to boost the economy in both cases.
These are the most critical investments we can make for the long-term health and vitality of both the American economy and the physical health and safety of the American people.
Biden's proposal calls for retrofitting millions of buildings to be more energy efficient and providing incentives for homeowners to do the same. He also wants to transition the U.S. government's fleet of vehicles to electric cars and trucks manufactured in the U.S. Trying to stay at a level 3, the struggle local Ohio businesses are facing while trying to keep their communities safe. That's next on Spectrum News 1.
We're dry for today, but chances for showers and storms are back in the forecast by Thursday. I'll let you know if they'll be hanging around into your weekend forecast. That's what's ahead in your next Weather on the One.
About 2 years ago.